Oh, g'day. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is contentment. Contentment. You know, whether you're content with your life, with yourself, your circumstances. Contentment. Okay, now, what would need to happen for us to be content? Okay. And I guess that's variable. It's relative to the person, to their wants and needs. If their needs are being met, their wants are manifesting into reality. And I guess if they no longer have any questions about life, if they're happy with what they already know, happy with themselves, happy with what they have, happy with their situation in life, then I guess contentment will be relatively probable in those circumstances. But like I said, that would be relative to the person, to whether they are addicted to achievement, perfecting themselves, perfecting their life, accumulating wealth, all of that sort of stuff. But like I said, if your needs are basic, your wants are basic, and you have all of those things already, then I guess contentment, like I said, is quite probable. Now, the geometric structure of contentment, the geometric form, the design of thought within the mind, how it is actually represented in geometrical form, as, like I said, the design of thought. Now, as a sphere, a geometric sphere, contentment has, it has 6 decagon external planes of belief or choice. It has 10 hexagon external planes of love, unconditional acceptance, and it has 30 square planes of intellect, which is receptive and constructive, takes on board and builds upon concepts. Okay, so in the physical, what does that relate to? As in physical contentment, because that's what those external facets represent. Physical contentment. Okay, so let's say you have belief, you have intellect, and you have love, or unconditional acceptance. We might use that word more regularly than the word love, because most of us, I think, would appreciate that very few of us regard love as unconditional acceptance. It's usually conditional. Okay, so that would be in geometric form, relative to designs of thought within the mind, love-regulated intelligence, love-regulated belief or choice. Okay. But unconditional thought, unconditional acceptance. In regard to contentment, unconditional acceptance. If we unconditionally accept, like I said, us, our lifestyle, our circumstances, situations, if we unconditionally accept our environment and the way things are, then we would be, in essence, physically content in that form. But what else would it represent? Okay, we have practical let's say practical rather than physical. Contentment is a product of practical intelligence, practical choices, practical beliefs, and well, we go back to the physical love, I suppose, in a practical sense, practical form. Okay, so what else would we say from those physical facets of that sphere of thought? Like I said, unconditionally accepting our choices that we've made, happy with those choices, happy with what we've taken on board and built upon through intellect. But will we ever get to that point, though? Are there people, personalities within the mind that have been represented within this dream state? Are there any personalities in this dream state that are content with themselves, with life? Are they content with what they know about life? I guess you would have to be very, very, I don't know what the word is, accepting of the way everything is, to be content with the way everything is. And I suppose if you don't watch the news, if you don't listen to the media, I guess contentment would be more probable. But then again, there may be people who don't really care about the news, the media. It may not affect them. They may simply just shut off from all that stuff and just focus on themselves, on being content. So their needs aren't too great. Their expectations aren't too great. You know, a fairly simple way of thinking. Would that be better? Now, in essence, we're all personalities of the one mind. This is the dream of that mind, where all personalities are represented within the dream state, all contributing to the dream with their thoughts, with their wishes, their desires, their dreams. But we're talking about a mind that is evolving, asking questions about itself through us, I suppose, because we are the personalities of that mind, asking questions about itself. How did it come about? What's its purpose? What is it? That would be the main question. What am I? What am I? How did I get here? Did something create me? As we've spoken before. So, would the mind, an evolving mind, ever really be content with what it knows? Considering that the mind evolves according to responses to its own thoughts that have visualized into a dream state, so it would evolve according to the responses to those visualizations, to those questions, to the possible answers, what we have believed to be true, what we have believed not to be true, what we do accept unconditionally, if anything. And like I said, intelligence, practical intelligence, physical intelligence, receptive and constructive, physically, practically, takes on board and builds upon, I suppose, those beliefs, those choices. like I said, will the mind ever be satisfied? Are we ever satisfied? Because that's the mind. We are the mind in its many aspects. So are we ever going to get to a point where we are satisfied with... But I'll have to admit, now, the more we learn about the way everything works, thought manifests, that this reality is a visualization of our thoughts. When we accept all of that stuff, you would have to develop a certain form of contentment, knowing how everything came about, through our thoughts, through our thinking, represented within a dream state. Every question we ask, something manifests into the dream state to represent a possible answer to that question. So knowing that's how everything works, that's the process of the mind ticking over, when we understand that, when we truly understand that, would we be content? A form of contentment, because we now understand what we've been doing with our thoughts, whereas before we had no idea. No. Thinking, no one knows our thoughts, doesn't matter what we think. We know that's not true now. So, like I said, understanding that, knowing how that works, does that mean the mind then could be content with the fact that it is an essence that thinks, that visualizes its thoughts into dreams, and every question it asks, something's going to manifest into that dream state to represent an answer to those questions? And beliefs, as we've spoken before, are a product of experiential consciousness. What we have experienced in the conscious state, we develop beliefs from what we have experienced in the conscious state. Experiential consciousness. That's how we form beliefs, declarations of personal preference or choice. Okay, and contentment, the spherical geometry of contentment, there are no emotional traits within that sphere of thought. There just aren't any emotional traits. So contentment isn't suggestive. It appears to be a physical thing, physical contentment. It's just a physical thing. We are content in our physical reality, in ourselves. So, what else can we add to that? Are you content? I couldn't say. My needs are very simple, I'll have to admit. I live in a caravan. Been living in a caravan now, full time, travelling around Australia for around 11 years. My needs are very simple. My wants are very simple. Well, probably not, because my wants were, why is everything the way it is? And I guess that's a humongous wanting to know why everything is the way it is. And now I have a pretty good understanding of that, of how that process works. So in essence, if you relate it all back to that, the questions would cease, because we already know that whatever we now know is simply a manifestation of questions that we've asked and possible answers that have manifested into the dream state to either prove or disprove our theories. As I've spoken before, that's how everything works. So what's true? What's real? The only thing that I can see that's real is that thought manifests, and everything else is a result of that. So everything that has manifested into this reality all of our methodologies, our concepts of how everything works, they're just belief systems, preferences, that all of those possible answers manifested in some way or form into this reality, and then we chose which ones to accept as true through our beliefs. Choices. That's what we've done. That's simply what we've done. We've just chosen what we prefer to be true. Preferentiality. And getting back to contentment, like I said, those beliefs, what we have believed to be true. If we are content with what we have accepted as what's true and what isn't, with our beliefs, then I suppose that's all we need. What we have taken on board and built upon from the visualizations of thought that we have been subjected to within this dream state. So if we're happy with what we have taken on board and built upon, what we have accepted, what we've accumulated into memory as this is how it works, that's how it works. If we're happy with all of that stuff, I guess, like I said, contentment would be quite simple, I suppose. But if there's an infinite number of personalities within the mind, and those infinite number of personalities are the mind as a whole, they are the aspects of the mind. Some happy, some unhappy, some knowledgeable, some not, some aware, some not, some confused, probably most confused actually, very few not. So is that what we're up against? To bring the mind, because the whole purpose now that we understand how that works should be creating a better us, creating peace of mind. Peace of mind. Peace comes from mutual respect. So if we mutually respect one another as aspects of the mind, all the result of questions that were asked and then they manifested into reality, if we're all aware of that stuff, and we get over the grudge state, it's your fault, oh, I didn't do it, must be you, oh, yep, it was you. If we get over all that crap and then start to go, okay, now that we know how it all works, we have to be very, very, very careful the questions we ask, for one thing, the thoughts we have, the responses we have. If we can all do that and bring contentment to the mind, the mind's evolving, yes, but couldn't it evolve a state of happiness rather than a state of dissatisfaction, confusion, competition? Surely we could all get together and put in the effort to do that. Because in essence, peace of mind is the only thing that's important. It doesn't matter what you have, whether you're wealthy, healthy, fit, and all sort of stuff. But if you don't have peace of mind, and I don't think you can be truly healthy and fit without peace of mind, actually. Because a disturbed mind is going to create a disturbed body, because body is a reflection of the mind. Our disturbed thoughts are going to cause a disturbance in the visualization of our body, because that's all it is, a personal visualization. So like I said, Surely we can all get together and stop the nonsense and the competition, the conflict, and accept we have to be careful. Now we have to change our complete way of thinking towards one another for a start, because we're all personalities of the same mind. We're all related, if you want to call it that. We're all related to one another. And whatever one person thinks, everyone else is going to be subjected to in one way or form when it manifests into this reality. Something that manifests into this reality because of those thoughts. We're all going to be subjected to that stuff. We're all responsible for that stuff. So, contentment. Let's hope we can achieve that and have simpler needs. Once we understand that thought manifests, then we can manifest good health and well-being. We don't need to fill our lives with stuff to try and feel important or that we've achieved something in life from our accumulations. What's important is that we are fit and healthy and we're living in a peaceful reality, if you can call it a reality. I know it's a dream, but it's our reality. So if we can do that, what would be, when you consider the forum complex and the feedback process, whereas the dream is adjusted according to all of the thoughts, wishes, dreams of the personalities in that dream state, all putting in their 2 bits worth of what they would rather have, what they would rather see in life. So then that virtual brain mind, then having to work with all of those 8 billion humans wanting different stuff to determine what manifests into this reality. But if we all had the same goal, if every one of us had the same goal, that's unity. All parts of a whole coming together to achieve a common goal. That's unity. Not competition. That's never going to create unity, as we've spoken before. That's an impossibility. They're contradictions. So if all of us can come together and wish for good health and well-being, a peaceful reality, a peaceful climate, a peaceful environment, if we can all do that, think of the incredible, and I guess in context, relating to the religious stuff of heaven on earth, wouldn't that be heaven on earth? Not that I believe in heaven or hell or anything like that, but in essence, a state of happiness, a state of connection, connectedness, that's, wow, I can't think of much better than that. For us all to be happy, healthy, caring, sharing. Wow. That'd be amazing. And to feel what's going on around us, not caught up in our racing thoughts. Oh, I want this, or I want that, or how do I go about achieving that? We don't have all that nonsense going on. And we're simply focusing on how to create a happier world. Wow. Come on, guys. We can do anything. If we think we can. If we don't think we can, thought manifests. So something will manifest into the dream state to prevent us from achieving that, because we had our doubts and fears. That's what I mean. You know, good stuff can manifest into the dream state, but so can the other crap. I think we've brought most of the crap into this reality already. Very little of the good stuff. Let's try get more good stuff. It sounds good to me. Okay, so I think we can leave it at that. Contentment, peace of mind, and contentment, the sphere of thought of contentment, is motive regulated. It's will based. So it is motive regulated, physical contentment, or personal thought regulated, conscious contentment, because the pentagon represents motive, personal thought, or consciousness. And contentment is motive regulated, practical belief, practical intelligence, and practical love, or physical love, physical intelligence, and physical belief. So that's contentment, conscious contentment. So we'll leave it at that. And I hope someone got something from that. And we'll catch up.